musician, I kind of got into live sound, which is my first step into recording. So really, I used to go and I used to kind of do live sound for bands, I used to enjoy it. So I got my fingers on faders, let's say, and I realized that when you kind of got your fingers on fader on that tactile surface, you could do good stuff with the sound. And stuff that I was kind of, as a player, I wasn't hearing myself, so I kind of wanted to give back bands as best I could regarding sound, because bands live off good sound. The medium changed, it wasn't a venue-based thing, so it led to, I suppose, the question of I needed a place to recording and mixing. So I decided I'd set up a little mixing room, and I wasn't recording bands, I was getting bands sessions in, I was mixing, and from that point it grew into, well, I actually need a place to record bands. And I built Bluebird Studios. It was the birth of Bluebird Studios from 7 years ago. And yeah, it grew from there, and I had a smaller desk and had less equipment, but as the years went by, I got the equipment level up to a standard I really wanted to be high-end audio, capture high-end audio. So I kind of target what I would call musicians who are ambitious. They weren't looking for necessarily demos, who really wanted to get into high-end production in audio terms. I spent 4 years in college of sound engineering and production skill sets and all that. And when I started, it was analog. So the reason I'm giving you that explanation is because with analog, you had to commit more when you're recording a band and producing a band. Almost like you had to work faster, think quicker, and have confidence in the decisions you make. If I started, 10 years later, I feel I would have become less instinctive, in a sense that I would have realized that digital could bail me out of any decision I make and go back and undo a certain amount of things. So my ethos is kind of built in, kind of having confidence in making a decision and going for it, because it goes back to a standard where you almost had to go for decisions in production, because you couldn't slice a tape of hundreds and hundreds of times. You wouldn't have a tape at the end of it. So commitment and going for a feel and understanding the music and a very fast workflow. The technology sure is exciting, but there's nothing more exciting than a good band. And in fact, if you said to me, here's a trade-off, do you want great technologies and mediocre bands, or do you want great bands coming in here working on 20 years old technology? I'll take the latter every day of the week. So what excites me is meeting new bands and new approaches, and technology is just, again, I just see it as a tool to get a job done, but really the job and the goal is the bands and the music. It's important to stay with new technologies. It's not a scrap against technology. Technology is really only a tool. So it's how you use the tools, really. So if you have a certain mindset, no matter what, technology or advances there is in technology, you know how to apply those in your workflow, and you certainly know on behalf of the band the best way of applying those. So if you consider yourself a kind of bridge between technology and results, and the band will know then, they trust this guy or girl that they will deliver and use the technologies appropriately, that their mix won't turn into something that it doesn't represent their genre, it's outdated, it just feels wrong for the band. Typically, if sessions start to kind of run into difficulty, let's say, it's usually one or two, maybe three reasons. One is the band doesn't fully understand what a recording studio is, doesn't understand that it's actually a tool for recording media. So the songs that a band bring in, they should be well rehearsed, and the band should understand the dynamics and the arrangement of the song. Because bringing a song that's unrehearsed and it doesn't really have a structure, you tend to end up rehearsing the song in the studio, which if you're U2 and you have a large budget, that's fine, because the studio can be a great creative environment. But if you want to work to a tight budget, best practice is probably get your arrangements and all that stuff out of the way before you come into the studio. The second thing I would kind of come across quite a lot is, given the natures of a lot of musicians, they tend to work with a large number of other musicians. And sometimes what can happen is a musician brings in a band around them that they probably have not worked with before. And I don't think that's a great plan. It's always a good plan to try and go and work with them, rehearse with them. If you can't rehearse or, rehearse with them, go and see them live, because it'll get you a better impression of what that player can offer, their feeling, their humor, and even their kind of their energy levels. People refer people and they book people on the strength of something they saw on YouTube or something like that. I would encourage bands to actually try and meet the person, because communication and good energy and a good relationship is vital to a good session. So, and thirdly, regarding kind of bands being prepared, is their instruments. Some guitars they bring on live stage and do live gigs, and on a live scenario, the guitar is fine or the kit is fine, but when you bring it to the studio has a great ability to show up little flaws, instruments, intonation. If it's a kit, bad skins in the kit. If a piano being out of tune. So it's worth investing in getting the instruments right before you come to record them. That might be very well spent money.